Good afternoon to all of you. So now we will talk about the duties and responsibilities of officiating officials in sports and gaming events. So to officiate at sporting events, games, or competitions to maintain standards of play and to ensure that game rules are observed. Judge performances in sporting competitions in order to award points, impose scoring penalties, and determine results. It also they must also signal participants or other officials to make them aware of infractions or to otherwise regulate play or competition. So the first three duties and responsibilities of officiating officials at sporting events are very crucial and very important in order to guide the process and regulation of the games. Okay, particularly games, group games wherein more than more than 5 to 10 are participants. So it is not that easy to maintain a game to organize and officiate a game, but nonetheless, sporting officials are there to ensure that the game is um, properly handled and properly regulated. Number four, they also inspect sporting equipments and or examine participants in order to ensure compliance with event and safety regulations. They must also keep track of event times, including race times and elapsed times during game segment and starting or stopping play when necessary. So, important ito because in race time, the elapsed during segments must be monitored in order for the discrepancy to be avoided. Start races and they must start also race and competitions. Number seven, they must resolve claims of rule infractions or complaints by participants and assess any necessary penalties according to regulations. So they must know all the different regulations of the game in order for them to resolve sudden conflicts, sudden complaints by the different participants, by the different coaches and participants. Number eight, they must also verify scoring calculations before competition winners are announced. So, in order for the smooth transaction, in order for the transparency of the game, they must verify at least 3 times for the calculations before they announce the winners. Okay, this is to avoid. Okay, this is to avoid favorites playing favorites or to avoid any unnecessary cheating. Number nine, they direct participants to assigned areas such as starting blocks or penalty areas. Number 10, report to regulating organizations regarding sporting activities, complaints made, and actions taken or needed, such as fines and other disciplinary actions. So they must regulate the organizations. The complaints, they must attend to the complaints. They must take into actions what are the different um, procedure to be taken in order for the disciplinary action if there is such participants or game um, game hosts or participants that has inappropriate actions. Number 11, confer with other officiating officials, coaches, players, and facility managers in order to provide information, coordinate activities, and discuss problems. Of course, with there are so many officiating officials um, that are assigned to different events. So, in order for them to have a proper coordination with one another, they must have to communicate very well in order to avoid conflicts. Okay, so they must also, number 12, teach and explain the rules and regulations governing a specific sport. Uh, this must be handled and applied before the rules for the governing for the officiating officials. They must know how the rules, the regulations. Number 12, they must research and study players and teams in order to anticipate issues that might arise in future engagements. Like, for example, where are the teams or players come from? What are their backgrounds? What are their ethnicity? What are their needs? Okay, so they must know in order for them to understand the feelings, the characters of the players. They must do the research very well. Number 14, verify credentials of participants in sporting events and make other qualifying determinations such as starting order or handicap or number. Okay, so this is an essential need, no, to verify the credentials of the participants. This is to clarify and to know if the participants are valid, if they are qualified enough to join the games, if they are if they are not violating any procedures. Okay? Because may mga instances wherein, um, for example, for the division of within the age range limit, for example, the participants must, the all participants must be within 15 to 18 years old, and no participants or no um, players should join above, because as you can see, the strength and ability, the agility, the endurance of older players are visible, okay, compared to participants with a lower bracket age. So they must verify the age of each participants. They must also verify the gender, okay, for that matter. So these are just some examples that officiating officials must verify the credential of the participants. And number 15, they must compile scores and other athletic records. Okay, so this is also important to compile scores because as you can see, um, upon the procedure and upon administering games and sporting events, in order for the transparency and quality of the games is the scores must be readily be accessed for all to avoid the discrepancy and to have at least transparency. Okay, so there you have it. These are just the 15 duties and responsibilities of officiating officials in the sporting competition.